If it means stopping all-out war between Symkaria and Bugalia, will Joe Garrison, the new Punisher, be able to get the job done? Well, let's hop into the pages of Punisher issue number 4, the grand finale to this 4-part miniseries, and find out how it all ends together, shall we? Alrighty then, so picking up from where the last issue left off, we see that Detective Linus is still mourning the death of his partner who was killed at the hands of Fearmaster. His boss, the police chief, has put him on psychiatric leave, but he's not going to do any of it, not after he went to his partner's widow, who told him point blank, "What are you gonna do about this now, Linus?" And in this situation, doing something about it means Detective Linus is going to have to join forces with Joe Garrison, the very same man that he's been trying to hunt since all of this began, and not a moment too soon either, as he's going to need all the help he can get to stop the brand new evil organization going by the name Jigsaw. These dudes are arms dealer terrorists who are going out of their way to try and use Fearmaster's own fear gas to try and infect a bunch of delegates at an upcoming peace talk between Symkaria and Bugalia. As their boss puts it, peace is bad for business and discord can make you quite rich if you play it right. You might also be wondering what's with the Jigsaw puzzle theming, outside the obvious reference to Billy Russo, one of Frank Castle's old arch nemesis. Well, the way they put it is that they're kingmakers, they're rearranging the pieces of the world and putting them back together in a form they prefer. Again, is it a bit of a stretch? Maybe, but do I still like their whole kind of chaos control MI6 Spectre thing they got going on? Yeah, I like it a lot, and the actual main guy's design is pretty solid, I'm not gonna lie. The gas ends up getting released, meaning that when Joe Garrison finally does make the scene, which he does by jumping his motorcycle through a plate glass window, yep, we are in full-on 80s action movie territory now. And just to really put the cherry on top of the sundae, he even does that little Akira slide thing we see all the time from characters whenever they're riding motorcycles, just mwah. The delegates are sadly already infected by fear and going nuts, tearing into each other and into poor Joe, who decides that the only way to stop them is by beating them back with, get this, electrified nunchucks, or as the eggheads at S.H.I.E.L.D. R&D used to call them back in Joe's day, stunchucks. Yeah, for some reason these just never caught on with all of their agents. I don't know why. Again, Joe's own growing sense of morality and how he's a different Punisher from Frank continues to kind of be the whole backbone of this series. He knows that he can't kill innocent people even to protect himself. And in his internal monologue, he actually goes a little bit further, saying that he's come here tonight not just to punish the wicked, but actually save the innocent first and foremost. In a nice callback to the first issue, Detective Linus is actually able to track down the kidnapped AAA by making use of the Reaper bullets, those special tracking bullets that were explained. All the way back when this story started, AAA, using her tech know-how, is able to take control of the communication devices inside the Jigsaw Grunt's helmets, and she manages to help Joe from afar, pacifying them with a loud sonic attack. This means that Joe is finally freed up to have himself a big one-on-one battle with the mysterious leader of Jigsaw on top of the building, because again, like I said, we're in full-on 80s action movie mode right now. We actually don't learn much about the Jigsaw guy, and spoilers, he doesn't stick around very long, but he does prove to actually have quite the network at his fingertips, because surprise, surprise, he already knows everything about Joe before their battle. He knows that he was a former member of S.H.I.E.L.D, he knows that he's been rocking around in an old S.H.I.E.L.D battlesuit, and because of that, he knows just the code command to cause Joe's grenades to go off while he was wearing them. In fact, for a second there, I thought it was going to be revealed that this guy was also an ex-member of S.H.I.E.L.D, which actually would have been kind of an interesting twist, considering that that organization has been mothballed for so long now and so many of their agents are unaccounted for. Surely some of them must have turned to international crime, but I digress. The Jigsaw leader berates Joe a little bit more, saying that he expected much more from a guy who was once known as the S.H.I.E.L.D Gravedigger and who has recently taken up the moniker of the Punisher. I mean, come on. One little house bombing and you shoot up half the underworld? How droll and depressing. Joe once again fires back by saying that he never willingly took on the name the Punisher. It's just something everyone keeps calling him since all of this has begun. But you know what? Tonight, when the moment calls for it, he'll be more than happy to play the role of Punisher to Jigsaw, spearing him off the building where he ends up getting impaled on a piece of art down below. A win's a win, but this is ultimately a hollow victory, as many Punisher stories are. All of this death won't bring Joe's family back, and worse still, this Jigsaw leader seemed only to be the edge of a much larger iceberg. In fact, we end up being told basically just that by Detective Linus, who is sure to offer up as thanks to Joe all of the information he's able to glean about Jigsaw and their actions. Apparently they're an international group with their hands in a lot of very unsavory pies. Assassination, super soldier production, corporate corruption, all the hits, and worse still, no one is doing anything about it because Jigsaw has been sure to pay off the right people, meaning that if there is ever going to be any justice done, if any of these innocent people ever hope to get some modicum of wholeness back ever again, it looks like a brand new Punisher will need to ride out and do the job himself. Because so long as people suffer, the Punisher will never die. And so that was Punisher issue number 4, everybody. A pretty solid conclusion to what was ultimately a pretty solid 4 issues. I mean, once you were able to get over the fact that it wasn't Frank, a fact of which I feel lots of people out there in the comic press just would not do and judge the book on its own merit. Which is a shame because I feel like a lot of people actually missed a very fun throwback. This book feels like something the Canon movie studio would make back in the day. I will admit it's not perfect. Being only 4 issues means that this final issue feels really rushed. I feel like there was always meant to be 1 or 2 more revelations that we just kind of never got, and that can's gonna get kicked down the hill. But for what it's worth though, I think this book did actually manage to accomplish what it set out to do, and that is establish Joe Garrison as a new, different sort of Punisher, completely different from Frank. Not just in style or tactics, but also in sanity and philosophy. It makes me feel that when Frank Castle returns, and he was always inevitably going to return because this is comic books and the status quo is always returned to, I think there'll actually be some pretty good conflict between Joe and Frank, and I'll be interested to see what form that takes. Also, I hope they bring David Pepose back to write that story too, because I think the man has always had some chops, and that the comic reading public has yet to fully appreciate all of his talents. Overall, though, I would give this one a 7 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.